Hello everyone, welcome to my channel. In this video, I'm going to show you how to build the lab 0 of Internetwork Troubleshooting course. And actually in this lab, we are going to build a network for a company which has two different locations. Some clients are connected to the access switches in both locations. And we also have ISP, which provides the internet access for these two uh, buildings in the company. So first thing, I'm gonna show you how the topology looks like in this company. We have two routers, HP and Progress, which are connected via a serial link. Then in each locations, we have some users connecting to the access switches, and we can see different VLANs. Actually, the focus of this course is the focus actually of this lab is to do the VLSM or variable length subnet masking based on the number of users and the VLANs that we have in this network. So we've been given a block of IP address, and so we have to do the subnetting in this network first, and then assign the IP addresses, make the routing happen between these two locations and the ISP, and then test and verify the connectivities. Because the focus is on the VLSM, so I'm going to show you how we can do the subnetting for this network. As you can see, we have VLAN 416 with 50 users. We have VLAN 420 with 25 users in actually HP location. In Progress location, again, we have H3 with 100 users. We have VLAN 1 with 10 users. And of course, uh, between these two, Progress and HP, we have one WAN link, again, that needs to be, uh, that we have to put the IP address for these WAN links as well. So I'm going to show you how we do the VLSM uh, based on the block of IP address that we've been given. So the IP address here is 172.16.64.0/23. This is, the CIDR notation. So it shows the bits that are allocated to the network portion, actually. So the ones are for the network portion, as you know, 0 are for the host portion. So if you look at this network, so the number of hosts that we can have is 2 with the power of the number of zeros that we have, minus 2. We have 500, we can have 510 users, and because we are doing the subnetting, so 2 with the power of uh, the number of ones that we have here on the third octet shows the number of networks that we can have for this block of IP address. Now, to start doing the VLSM or variable length subnet masking, as you know, we have H3 in Progress. If you go back to, so we start from the location which has the highest amount of users. Here in this example, we start from H3 with 100 users. Then we go to the next location with the highest, with the next VLAN is VLAN 416, 50 users. Then we go to VLAN 420 with 25 users. Then we go to VLAN 1, and then we go to this network, which is between Progress and HP. So if I go back to the subnetting or VLSM, so as you can see, H3 has 100 users, VLAN 416 50 users. I have put them in the order from the highest to the lowest. VLAN 4 20 users, VLAN 1 10 users, and WAN link between HP and Progress, only 2 IP addresses we need to allocate. So we start from the highest. highest amount of users or hosts, doesn't matter what we name it. So H3, 100 users. Okay, how we do the VLSM? First, we have to ask this question: how many users we need? How many users or hosts we need in this location? We need 100 users. So how do we calculate the amount of users? Is 2 with the power of 9 zeros minus 2. That is how we calculate the amount of hosts in each network. So in this equation, if we put 2 with the power of x, the number of 0 bits or the number of bits allocated for hosts, minus 2 is 100. So the amount of hosts that we need is 100. So if you put it in this formula, we cannot put 6 because 2 with the power of 6 is 64, which is less than 100. Okay, which is less than 100. 64 minus 2, 60. So we go one digit higher, 7. 2 with the power of 7, which is 128, minus 2 is 126. So this number should be equal or greater than 100. So when we say 2 with the power of x minus 2 should be equal or greater. It cannot be less than. So if you put 6, it is less than 100. If you put 7, it is greater. Okay, so we put 7. So we have to allocate 7 bits for hosts. So in this block so we have to change this block of IP address. So we only need to allocate 7 bits. So this is 7 bits, as you can see, 7 bits, and we put the rest 1. So we only need 7 bits to allocate for the hosts. And if we change this binary to decimal, we can calculate the subnet mask. The subnet mask is 255.255.255, and the decimal value is 128. It's 2 with the power of 7. Okay, if you change this binary value to decimal, is 128. So in this network, so we found the network for H3. This is the network for H3. So how many users or hosts we can have? 2 with the power of 7 minus 2 is 126. How many network? 2 with the power of 1 minus 2 with the power of 1. We have only 2 networks. And these are the network ITs: 172.16.64.0. Actually, it is a /25. So the usable IP addresses can be from 1 to 126. The broadcast is 127. The next network ID starts from 128. So the usable IP addresses means the IP addresses that you can assign to the hosts: 129, the last one 254, and the broadcast 255. Okay, we calculated H3. Now we go to the next one, which is VLAN 416, 50 users. So we chose 172.16.64.0/25, which is this network, okay, for H3. So this one is for H3. So we have to start from the next network, from this one, 172.16.64.128/25. Now we ask again the same question: how many users we need? 50 users. So 2 with the power of x minus 2. Sorry, there is a typo here. It is 50. It should be 50. So 2 with the power of 5 we cannot put, but 2 with the power of 6, which is 64, minus 2, which is 60. So it is higher than 50, so we can use x. X is 6. So we have to assign 6 bits now, only 6 bits for the hosts. So if this range, we put 172.16.64.128/26. The number of ones is 26. and the subnet mask is 192. Now in this network, this is the network for VLAN 416. So how many hosts? We have 62 hosts in each network, and we can have up to 4 networks or subnets. So we start from 172.16.64.128, which is this one. The usable IP addresses is .129 to 190. The broadcast 195. Sorry, 191. The next one is 192. The network ID. It is a slash, of course, 26. So the usable IP addresses in this range, 170.193 to 254, and 255 is the broadcast. Okay, we found the network for 416. This is the network for H3. This is the network for, and we calculated the usable IP addresses that we have to assign, of course. After I go to the topology, I'll show how we assign the IP addresses. Now, next, move on to the next one, which is VLAN 420 with 20 users. Now we have to go to the next. So we chose 172.16.64.128/26 for VLAN 416. Now we need to do subnetting on the next network, which is this one, 172.16.64.192. 172.16.64.192/26. How many users we need? 25 users. So 2, again, there's a typo here. So 2 with the power of x minus 2 should be 25. What number can we put for the x? 5. We cannot put 4 because 4 is 16 minus 2 is 14. It's less than 25. So we can put 5. 2 with the power of 5 minus 2, 25, x5. So only 5 bits we need for the hosts. So it should be 27. So 172.16.64.192/27. And the network, the subnet mask is 224. So how many users we have? 2 with the power of 5 minus 2 is 30. How many networks? 8. Again, we start from 172.16.64.192. The first network, which is the usable IPs from .193 to .222, the broadcast 223, and the next one is 224 network ID, the usable 225 to 254, and the broadcast 255. Okay, so we found the IP address for VLAN 420. The next one is VLAN 1 with 10 users. VLAN 1 with 10 users. So we go to VLAN 1 with 10 users. So we chose this network 172.16.64.192/27 for VLAN 420. Now we need to choose this one, the next one, /27 for VLAN 1. How many users? 10 users. So 2 with the power of 4. 16 minus 2 is 14. So we cannot put 3 because it's 8. 2 with the power of 3 is 8 minus 2. It's 4. So x is 4. So we only need to put 4 bits for the hosts. So /28, which is the CIDR notation 240. And this is the network for VLAN 1. And as you can see, the first network is 224. The usable 225 to 238, the broadcast 239, and the next one is 2.240. It starts from 241 to 254. And the last one, we move to the WAN link, which is only 2 IP addresses. So we chose this one for VLAN 1. Now we do the subnetting on the next one, which is 172.16.240/28. How many users? 2. So it should be, as I said, more than or equal. So if you put 2, 2 with the power of 2 is 4 minus 2 is 2. So x2. So we only need 2 bits, and this is the subnet mask 252 and 172.16.64.240/30. As you can see, in most networks, and actually all networks, when we only have 2 IPs on a network, we use a /30. So it is usually the transit links between routers, we use a /30. So how many users? 2 or 2 IPs, and we can have 64 networks. So we start from the first one, 240, and the usable is 241, 242, the broadcast 243, and these are, and actually we don't need this network anymore. I just wrote it here, but we only need this network. Okay, cool. Now we have calculated the VLSM, variable length subnet masking. We know each VLAN now, which IP addresses we have to assign. Now, just what we need to do is to build this network, to put these pieces in the correct VLANs, to make the connection. And actually, for routing, we are using RIP version 2 to do the routing between these locations, and also to originate the default route, because these systems also need to have internet connectivity. So we have to actually advertise the default route, which is going to the internet from progress campus into the network, with the default information originate in the RIP or in the RIP routing. So these systems will have also connectivity. So I'm going to build it in EVE-NG. So actually, I'm gonna need the IP addresses. I'm gonna need the network topology as well. So we have, I will add 3 routers and 1 switch and 3 hosts. So I'm gonna add my router. This is the VIOS router. I put it HP. I with the name HP. I will add another one. I call it Progress Campus. I will add another one, call it I'll call it the ISP. I will add one switch, a VIOS switch, and I call it CTAS. And actually, here in this topology, we have the serial links, but I'm not going to use the serial links. I'm just going to use the regular Ethernet. But in case I want to use the serial links, because these VIOS routers I'm using, they don't have serial links, I have to use a different version. So just for simplicity, I use the Ethernet, gigabit Ethernet links between these 2 locations. But in the lab that you will be doing, you need to use these serial links. So between even the Progress and the ISP, I just put the regular Ethernet links just for simplicity. Okay, that's it. And I'm going to actually add hosts, and I PC VLAN 416. One, I name it 416. and one 420. PC VLAN 420, and I put another one, I call it H3 in Progress Campus. Okay, that's it, I think. So I'm gonna just build the network. I have to connect the locations together. So this is HP, this is Progress. We have CITUS here, we have the ISP here. So we have VLAN 420, VLAN 416 here, and we have H3 here. So I'm just gonna connect these and then I will do start the configuration. Uh, so the interface numbers are not important. So these interface numbers actually do not correspond to what I'm just connecting in the lab. I'll choose a different uh, interface numbers, so it doesn't matter which interface going to which actually PC or how they are connected. Just the configurations is important and the block of IP addresses that we will be using. We will use this IP address between these two locations, and we will use the VLSM that just we calculated for assigning to the default gateways of these VLANs, the interfaces, the VLAN interfaces, and we will put the correct ports in the correct VLAN IDs. Okay, so I'm gonna connect this HB to this, like gig 0 to gig 0, doesn't matter. I'm gonna connect this one, gig 0, 1, and I'm gonna connect this one, gig 0, 2. So again, for the connection between these two, again, I'm using Ethernet, gig 0, 1, gig 0, 0. And for the ISP, again, I'm using a Ethernet. But in the lab, we need to use these serial links. And gig 02 to this H3 system. I'm not gonna turn on my clients now. First, I will do the configuration. I'm just gonna turn on my devices. I will connect to them, then I start assigning the IP addresses. So we have to be careful to assign the correct IP address. So just 1 second, I'm gonna. Okay, I think I closed it. So because I need these IP addresses to assign. Okay, I'm going to connect to these devices. So this switch, HP router and Progress router. So I'm waiting for my devices to boot up. So in EVNG, actually, I'm using the iOS of the VIOS of these devices. So you can use the packet tracer, but like EVNG is a little bit better than the packet tracer. You work with the iOS. So we go to we will configure. We will start the configuration from the switch. So in the switch, we have just this as an access switch. We just have to put the correct, assign the correct VLANs to the interfaces. So the first thing I'm gonna hostname Citas, and I go to Internet gig 01 switch port mode access and switch port access VLAN 420, and it will create the VLAN 420 for me as well. So because I have to create the VLAN 40 first and then assign the port to that VLAN, but it will create it for me. And then the next one, I go to 02 and VLAN 416. Again, the same thing. And I have to make the 00 as a trunk port. So I go to int gig 00 and encapsulation switch port trunk encapsulation .1q and switch port mode trunk. I save my configuration and show IP interface brief. I can see now my interfaces are up. Okay, now I'm gonna configure the HP switch. For the HP switch, I'm using the router on a stick, okay, on this interface to enable routing between these two locations, or I have to use the sub interfaces actually to assign the IP addresses. Now I'm gonna show you how I'm gonna do that. So if I go to my subnetting, so for 416 and 420, 416 I'm using this range, so I'm just gonna minimize it here, or so I will have access to my IPs. I'm gonna put the correct IP address on the interface, because for VLAN 416 I'm using this subnet, so I have to choose one IP from this range as a default gateway of my systems in this VLAN. So first I'm gonna change the hostname HP. Now I go to int gig. So if you look at the topology, it is gig. It is says fast 00, but here in my router I have gigabit interfaces. Gig 00. I have to use the and if you look at this topology, gig 00 is connected to this switch. So gig 00 dot, first I create 416 encapsulation .1q 416. Okay, and I have to put the IP address. Which IP address? The IP address that I've put for 416, this one. So I use the first IP in this range for the default gateway. So I'm gonna use IP address 172.16.64.129. You have to be careful with the subnet mask 255.255. It is 192. Okay, I will do the same for 420. 420 in encapsulation.1q 420. and the IP address for 420, I go here, so I choose this one, the first usable IP address, 16.64.193, and the subnet mask is 255.255.255.224. Okay, and of course gig 00, I think I have to also put no shut, and show IP interface brief, and you can see my interfaces are up. Okay, up to this point I just assign the IP addresses to the sub interfaces for these two VLANs. Okay, if you look at the topology, we have also VLAN 1, which has uh, 10 users. So, and it says in the lab, it says that you have to put the IP address for this VLAN. So we will also do that. We will put the IP address in VLAN 1 for uh, based on what we just calculated. So if we go to okay, so my subnetting again. So VLAN 1, if we go to VLAN 1, as you can see, we have 10 users. And so we put the first IP address on VLAN 1. Actually, I have to go back to the switch. T, and we go to int VLAN 1 and IP address 170, IP address 172.16.64.255 and 240. I put the first IP address and show IP int brief. Okay, and you can see my VLAN 1 is up, and we have, of course, 10 users we can assign to VLAN 1. Okay, so we are almost done with this part, and we put the IP address on sub interfaces on these HP. Now we are going to configure the IP address between HP and Progress Campus. So go back to my IP addressing. So for the WAN between HP and Progress, we are only using 2 IP addresses from this range. So from the HP, in my topology, it is gig 01 going to 00. So it is 01. So we have to go to the interface 01 in gig 01, and I just put the IP address. Which IP address? I put 172.16.64.241. So the first one, we only have 2 IP addresses, 255.255.255.252, and no shut. Show IP interface brief. Okay, so also I put this IP address on gig 01, which is going to Progress Campus. Okay, I just saved my configuration. I go to the Progress. Also, I have to enable routing. I'll come back and enable RIP routing on them as well. Okay, hostname Progress. Okay, first I'll go and I set the IP address on gig 00. So int gig 00, and which IP address, sorry, which IP address I have to put? I have to put another IP address, which is this range, which is 172.16 64.242 255 and no shut. Okay. Also, what I need to do here is I have to make a default route to go uh, to the ISP, and the IPs to the ISP is if we look at our topology, here is 191.4.200.3.12. Actually, this is the network slash 30. So we have 13 and 14 in this network. So we put 13 on this link and we put 14 on the other link. So I'm just gonna do the IP addressing based on this. So from the Progress Campus, if I go conft int gig, let's look at the topology. What is my link? Gig 01. It is gig 01. Gig 01 IP address 194.200.3.13. So this is the network ID and the subnet mask, actually the CIDR notation. So the first usable IP address is 13 255.252, no shut. And I'm gonna make a default route, IP route 00000000 to the ISP router, which is 194 sorry 194.200.3.14. Okay, now I have to put the IP address, this one, on this interface of 00. So I go to the ISP, again I put the IP address here, hostname ISP, and I just go to int gig 00 and I put the IP address, IP address 194.200.3.14 255.255.255.252, no shut. Okay, so far I have done the IP addressing, and from here I should be able to ping 194.200.3.13, which is on the other side. And you can see I can ping it. I can ping from here to here. So there is connection. But still, these devices will not be able to ping the ISP because we haven't originated the default route to the network. So we have to enable routing first of all uh, to have the communication between these devices, and then also we have to originate the default route into the network. So I'm going to run RIP version 2. So we say router RIP version 2, and then I specify network 172.16.0.0. I want to advertise a 16 network, and default information originate, because I want to originate this default route to them. When we have a network and we have only one exit from that network, for example to the ISP, and I want this router to advertise that default route to the network, I use this command. So it will advertise the default route to these systems. So these systems will be able to connect to the ISP. So I have to go to the HP router. Also on the HP router, I have to uh, originate the sorry, I have to put the RIP version 2 also advertised in the network. Router RIP version 2 and the network 172.16.0.0. Show IP route. Okay. As you can see now, I can see the route, the default route. If I say show IP route RIP, it shows me the routes that I have learned via the RIP routing protocol. Show IP route RIP, and these are the networks that I'm learning from these two VLANs. I'm learning the routes. Okay, now we have to just turn on our PCs, put the IP address, the default gateway, and check the connectivity. So let's go, and I will turn on my hosts. So for these hosts, again, the IP address is not, we don't have DHCP, so we have to put the manual IP address. And the IP address which we have to put is based on the subnetting that we have done. So I'm gonna, again, put the IP address and the subnet mask. And the first IP is in each range I have put as the default gateway, on the routers. So let's start with VLAN 420. Okay, so I'm gonna log in. I have to also turn off the firewall on these systems. In Packet Tracer, actually, it's much easier for the PCs because there is no operating system. It's just a simulated environment. But here is a real client. So, okay, I'm going to add the IP address manually. So this one is VLAN 420. So I'll go to my 420 here, change adapter. As you know, we use this range and the first IP, right? The first IP, we assigned it to the gateway. So in this system, what I need to do, I have to put the IP address in this range. It is 172.16.64. 420, right? Okay, 64, and I put 194 because 193 I put it for the default gateway. And what is the subnet mask? It should be 255 255 224. And what is the default gateway? 192.16.64 and 193. Okay, let's check. Okay, put the IP address. Now I'm going to, first of all, I'm going to turn also off the firewall, because if I want to communicate with other systems in this network, my firewall should be off. So right now I should be able to ping the default gateway. Also, I should be able to ping the ISP. I will check. And also the other systems, like the VLAN 416 and also VLAN 1 and H3. So I'm going to, okay, turn off, turn off. Okay, I'm going to open command prompt. Okay, the command prompt is open. Now from this PC, first of all, I should be able to ping the default gateway, my default gateway, which is G00.420. If I go to HP and show IP interface brief, so 420 is 193. So from that PC, I should be able to ping the default gateway. So I'm gonna just check. So first of all, IP config. I can see my IP address. Now let's ping the default gateway 172.16. Sorry, 172.16.64.193. So I can see that I can ping my default gateway. Now let's see if I can ping the, if you look at the topology, I should also be able to go and ping the ISP, which is this link. So let's check 194.200.3.14. If I cannot ping, I have to, okay, I have to check the other routers then. Let me see, 13, yeah, 13. So I can ping this link, but I cannot. Oh, also I forgot something. I have to put the default route from the ISP, because the packet goes, but it doesn't return. Also on the ISP, I have to put a default route that goes to the progress, campus. That is the issue. So we forgot to put the IP address on the ISP. If I go conf t, because I put the default IP address from here to here, but I didn't put the default from here to progress. IP route 0000000 and 194.203.13, which is pointing to this link here. Now let's check. As you can see, I can now ping the ISP because the default route was not set on this one. Okay, so if we have connection, now I'm gonna just check one more thing. Yeah, VLAN 420 and H3. I should be able to ping from here to here and H3, and also from all systems I should be able to ping the ISP. I'm gonna just connect to my Windows in VLAN 416. Okay, again, I have to put the manual IP address. So I have to go again to my IP addressing and go to the VLAN. It is VLAN 416. So I go to, this is VLAN 416. Okay, it's restarted, so it doesn't matter. So I'll just stop. While it is booting, I go to H3 because H3 also I have to okay, 1 second. I'll just start it back. Stop. Okay, VLAN 416. I'm just waiting for it to boot up. Okay, while I'm waiting, I'm also gonna log into H3 as well, because I'm gonna check if I have inter VLAN connectivity as well. So this is VLAN 416. So I'm going to assign the IP address. Go to Ethernet, change IP addresses. And again, I'll have to refer back to my VLANs. VLAN 416. So I'll go here. Okay, so the first one, 416, this is the network. The first one, 129, I put it as the default gateway. So I choose the second IP from this range. 172, 16, 64, 129. Then I put 255, 255, 255, 192. The default gateway is 172, 16, 64, 129. The first IP. The first IP I put as default gateway. I put the second, sorry, I have to put the second then on the host, second IP address. Okay. Here, okay. So I should be able to first ping the default gateway and ping the ISP and ping another system in VLAN 420. So for this one, I'm gonna also turn off the firewall. Turn off the firewall. I turn this off, turn this off. Okay. Now I'm gonna put these two side by side. VLAN. Okay. So this is 420, VLAN 420. This is 416 in two different. If you look at the diagram, 416, 420. So I just put them side by side and I want to check if I can ping from one system to another. Okay, I go and I run the command prompt. Okay, so on this one, I'll put IP config. So this is 194. Of course, they are in two different networks. So from this one, 416, I should be able to ping VLAN 420. So I ping 172, 16, 64, and 194. So you can see that I can ping. Also I should be able to ping the ISP. What was the ISP? Ping 194, 203, and 14. So you can see that I can ping. So the last one, the last system is H3. So this is H3. Again, I have to go and put the IP address. The IP address in H3. I'm gonna refer back to my IP addresses. Ethernet, change adapter options. So H3 was the first network we created. So I'm gonna put the IP address. So I put the first one on the gateway. So 172, 16, 64, and 173, the second. And 255, 255, 255, and 128. And the gateway 172, 16, 64, and it is 172. The first IP address in the range, I put it as the default gateway. Okay, okay, close. Then I go also to the control panel. I turn off the firewall. Off. I hit OK. And I have to now open the command prompt. So let's check from H3 to, for example, VLAN 416. Let's go to VLAN 416. I should be able to ping this system. So IP config, and from H3, 172, 16, 64, 130. So there is something. Let me see if we put the correct IP addresses. So in H3 172, let's go on IP config 172.16.64.173, and let's see if we can ping the gateway 172. Okay, so we cannot ping the gateway. It means there is something wrong uh, on the progress G02. Let's go and check G02. Okay, that's it. So we haven't assigned the IP address on G02. So conf t int gig02 IP address. So the first IP in the range is 172.16.64.172 and 255, 255, 255, and 128, because I hadn't set the okay. So the first IP address 172.16.00. So the other interface which we have put is 172.16. Okay, let's see. Show run int gig 00 gig 02. Oh, sorry, did made a mistake. So conf t int gig 02, the IP address. The IP address should be 172.16.64. I have to put 1 and 255, 255, 255, 128, and no shutdown. And I have to go to H3 and change the default gateway. I think I also put the wrong IP and the default gateway on this. That's why it's not working. So the first is 1. So I put as the default gateway. So the first IP is 1. So I put 2 here, and I put 1 as the default gateway. So 172.16.64.2, that's the second IP address in this range, and the first one as a default gateway. And it should be working. Okay, yeah, so we can see that the network is up now. Okay, now if I ping the default gateway, oh, the default gateway IP again is 1. Okay, cool. Now H3 and VLAN 416. So I should be able to ping 16.64.130. You can see that I can ping, and also I should be able to ping the ISP. So ping 194.200.314. So in this lab, we saw that we established the intra VLAN routing, and also we injected the default route which was going to the ISP to the rest of the network, and we had connectivity to the ISP. I hope you enjoyed this video. Thank you very much.